So Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants were not able to come to an agreement for the running back's long-term deal. The deadline ended at about 4 p.m. today. So it was, I honestly don't think any of us should be surprised whatsoever. Saquon Barkley and the Giants just weren't on the same page. He was reportedly asking for $16 million. The Giants' last offer that we heard was $12 million. So there was really no chance that the two sides would come together. I thought give it $14 million, have everything good to go, $15 million, and then everyone will be on their merry way. It turned out not to be the case. Saquon Barkley and the Giants could not get this deal done by 4 p.m. today. And we have to come to a realization now. The running back market is pretty suppressed because the way the NFL works, the way a lot of coaches and a lot of owners and GMs, they think now, it's a very draft, rent, and let go system of running backs. That's the way the NFL is today. You draft them, you keep them on their rookie deal, you may give them a 2-year, 3-year extension, and you let them go. We're not seeing running backs sign 6, 7, 8-year extensions with the team that drafted them or with any other team for that matter. It's strictly a draft, rent, and then they draft again. That sort of process is how it works out. You need to be a top-tier running back, one that doesn't deal with a lot of injuries, or if you do deal with injuries, when you play, you are so great at what you do, like Christian McCaffrey, that when you're in there, the injuries are not a huge thing. That's why Christian McCaffrey right now is getting paid the most as a running back. What Saquon and Josh Jacobs, and even somewhat Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard isn't sitting out, what Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, what they're doing, I actually sort of, I support that. They're trying to show the importance of the running back position in the NFL. I personally don't think, with Josh Jacobs on that team, if Josh Jacobs was not on the Raiders, now the Raiders didn't have a lot of success, but with the way Derek Carr was playing, if he had any other, mediocre running back, the Raiders would have basically no success. They didn't have a lot of success, but they really would have zero without him, in particular because he was the leading rusher in the entire NFL last season. What Saquon Barkley has done for the Giants, though, in particular, and by the way, this was the reaction from social media when it came to the Giants and Saquon not getting long to deal. Saquon said about 6 minutes before the deadline, it is what it is, and then Jonathan Taylor reacts as well, saying, wow. But I want to talk specifically about Saquon Barkley and his impact on the New York Giants. Now, I've talked about this a lot on the show, and I've gotten absolutely ripped at it in my comments section about how I know nothing about the Giants or whatever the case may be. I am a context and facts guy. I like analytics. I try to rely heavily on them. Do I think they tell the entire story? No. But do they tell a big part of it? Yes, they do, because it provides context to, a fact that I may bring up or whatever the case may be. So let's get into the facts. When the running backs for the New York Giants rush for over 100 yards, it doesn't only benefit Saquon Barkley's value, it also improves Daniel Jones's value. Because if we take a look at this, the rushing yards, under 100 rushing yards, they have a losing record. Daniel Jones actually has a comparable completion percentage, 65%, has under 200 yards per game passing, and his passer rating is 86.6. When the running backs have over 100 yards, which adds another layer to your passing game with the play action, we see that the Giants are undefeated. The completion percentage is through the roof. Passing yards a game is almost 100 more yards per game when you rush for over 100 or more yards, and your passer rating is about 30 points higher when the running backs rush for over 100 yards. So we could see that the running backs impact, like Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley is the main running back. Matt Breida did not have an insane impact on the Giants, so this is really all about Saquon. The impact that he had on Daniel Jones was absolutely insurmountable. And that's why I feel like maybe Saquon shouldn't have gotten paid $15, $16 million a year. But he damn sure didn't deserve to get paid $12. And also, this could be down to what sort of came out recently. So, before I jump into that, a little tidbit here is Saquon could actually skip all of training camp and not get fined a single dollar amount because he hasn't signed his franchise tag tender yet. Now, the only money he will miss out on is game checks if he decides to sit out the season, which actually seems like a potential opportunity. It seems like this could be a real scenario where the Giants do not have Saquon Barkley at the time of kickoff in September. The franchise tag guarantee. The Giants could franchise tag him at least one more time. The entire franchise tag would be about $22 million guaranteed for Saquon Barkley. The major key point reportedly was the Giants only offered him $19 million in guarantees. So he could have made more money guaranteed just by playing on the franchise tag than what the Giants were offering him. What Saquon Barkley means to the Giants is when Daniel Jones throws for 15 touchdowns, has 22 total touchdowns, and is all about dinking and dunking, who was the main piece of that offense, especially in the first half of the year? It was Saquon Barkley. We look at the first game. The first game where I said on the show, Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year for their comeback against the Titans, it was Saquon Barkley who exploded onto the scene and looked as healthy as could be. Now, what's the realistic outlook here? Well, Saquon Barkley, let's say he sits out the entirety of this season. I think that's an extreme point of view, but that is definitely a potential possibility for the running back. If he sits out all this season, I can guarantee you right now, he's not going to be on this team. Hell, they may even trade him in the middle of the year. I'm not too sure, but what I do know is I do not expect Saquon Barkley to be in a Giants uniform next year. Because unless the Giants are going to pay him $15, $16 million a year, which I think another team desperate enough will do, they will pay him at least $14, $15 million. They may push it to Christian McCaffrey's level at $16 million a year. I do not expect the Giants to pay him that money. I guarantee you, if the Giants do not, give in to Saquon's demands, because he's about 55 to 60% of that offense, he will not be in a Giants uniform next year. I'll bet some money on that. I'll say that there's really no way that there is an opportunity that he stays with the Giants, but I'm going to bring it up again. His impact is clearly shown here. Daniel Jones is a significantly better quarterback when he has a rushing attack. So he's not one of these guys that could overcome no running game like maybe a Joe Burrow can, a Jalen Hurts, even Captain Kirk Cousins. When Dalvin Cook is down and out and injured, or is not having a phenomenal game. We've seen Kirk Cousins here and then. As long as it's a 1 p.m. game, we can see Kirk Cousins actually perform. So Daniel Jones does not have that benefit of carrying a team through a season. He may carry you here and there was one game where him and Saquon were perfectly in sync, about 100 yards apiece. But in the totality of a season, Saquon, especially in that first half last year, Saquon was about 70% of that offense. He was a key part of that offense, so much so that at least throughout 3 quarters of the season, I said, really, if we're looking at the best running backs in the league, I would put Saquon at number 1 just because of the situation. They had a bad offensive line. Daniel Jones, we've seen Daniel Jones' ceiling, I believe. This may have been the best Daniel Jones we will ever see, and we might not see again, depending on how the season looks with actually more talent and a better offensive line, but we'll have to wait and see. So my guess would be Saquon, truthfully, if because they can't talk about long-term yet until after this season. If they can get a long-term deal done, or if Saquon sits out, I could see the Giants either trade him in the middle of the season, because why is he on your team if he's not even going to play? At least get some value for him. Or at the end of the season, Saquon will be a free agent. They may tag him. They may not, but I expect Saquon, if he doesn't get his money, to be on a different team next year. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.